I start saying anything, I want to give a shout out to my subscribers, and you guys are just so amazing. Thank you so much for subscribing to this YouTube channel. I am really grateful for you taking that step to click on that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. Really, it means a lot to me. It tells me and it shows me how my content is valued and how you want more of my content. And I want to promise you guys I will never ever let you down. I'm going to give you richer content that will make your development journey easy and profitable. Thank you so much. Okay, on this note, I would like to say that I want to create something which I didn't had in my previous video. Have you ever wondered how when you open a chat message or a chat app, how the chat room or the chat page scrolls straight down to the bottom? That is what you see. I mean, you'll wonder if you're not a programmer, you may probably not don't you may probably not care about that. That I mean, by default it should be that way. No, not by default. By default it shouldn't be that way. By default, look to my right screen, but guys, by default it should be like this. By default, the scroll, what you're supposed to be looking at should be like this. But every programmer writes a code that makes it go to the bottom. That makes it go to the bottom. Okay, so which is what I'm going to show right now, which I'm going to show you guys right now. And if I go to my code, to my source code, and I go to line 55 and I delete all the code that I have right there, just watch what's going to happen on my application when I save. Watch what's going to happen, guys. Okay, let me refresh, and I go to that room. See, I have it here, right? I have it. It's showing here, which is not supposed to be the behavior. It's supposed to be like this. So if I go back and I type what I took out, watch it, guys. If I click on that room, see, it brings me back here. If I take it out again, watch what happens, guys. If I click on that room, see, to the top. So we want to prevent this behavior. We want it to go straight down, because the default behavior is to show you at the top of the message. But what we want naturally, it's to show us the bottom of the message, which is where the last information came in. So when I go back, I'm going to use something called use effects. You know, in React, it's called use effect, but when you're writing vanilla JavaScript, it's called content did mount and content did mount and content did updates, or content did mount, content did update. That is what you use in vanilla JavaScript. But hook is very powerful. Hook is one of the React's components functions, and it helps you. You know, it makes life so much easier for you. So the same thing content did mount, content did update will do for you. This particular hook effect, use effect, will do absolutely well for you also. So use effect, basically you're telling this use effect is you're using use effect, you're saying to the system that when the page loads, this is what I want you to do, use effect. And it's going to happen only once. If you notice very well, I didn't put the second, like I always do my other use effect. I put this bracket here, but we can actually put a bracket also, just to follow the normal standard way of writing it. So I'm going to put the brackets. It doesn't still break anything. It doesn't break anything. No, it doesn't break anything. So it won't break anything. See. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm noticing something right now. I think. Okay. So let me take it out. Oh, okay. Then please, guys, don't put it. I mean, don't. That is not what you want to achieve. So let's just call use effect alone. No dependencies. Okay. Don't put any dependency. So it happens once the system loads. Use effect just happen that way. It just does its thing. The use effect function is called, and it just does exactly what you want it to do. So what I'm going to do basically is that in that use effect, I want to catch an element. I want to put that effect on one element, which is the room, the chat room here. Something is responsible for this chat room here, and with that is the message component, right? So there's a div that houses that message component. I want to add, I want to get that div which contains the message component, right? And I want to add this functionality to it. So what I'm going to say is that I'm going to declare a variable which is element, and I'm going to say variable, I'm going to equate the variable to that element in my DOM, and I'm going to say document, please go to the document, which is the whole entire website, the DOM page. Please get my element, get that element by the ID. Okay, now I'm using get element by ID here because this is the only time, because ID you can only reference ID to one element in the DOM. You can't use any ID twice. That's what it's called, identity ID. It's only for one person, one element. You cannot, two elements can't have the same ID on a DOM. It's just not possible. It's gonna throw you an error. So I give it a unique ID, and I said that so you see here, it has a class of its own though, which I use for styling, but styling is not what I want to do here. I just want to grab that element, that component. I want to grab just that one. So I give it this unique ID, and I reference to that ID here, and I said go to my document, get that element by ID, get element by ID name chat view bottom. So, and I said if that element exists on my DOM, please do this thing. Add a scroll function. Call a scroll function on that element, which is this expression. I'm calling a scroll function on that element, and I'm saying that the x-axis, which is the x-axis of that element, set it to 0, and the y-axis set it to element that the height of the element itself. So this scroll height is actually a function also that calculates the height of the view height, and it gives you exactly the view height. So it doesn't give you more, it just gives you exactly what the height of that element can take, and what content can be taken, can be got. So the 0 that you have here makes it pin to the bottom, and still give you the height of the elements. Perfect, right? And if I think let's try something. If I increase this to, let's say 1, let's see what's gonna happen. So it still gives me back. You see, it gives me back exactly how I want it, which is perfect, right? You see. So if let's say we give it I'm just trying values here, and I want to see what's going to happen. It doesn't hurt to try, right? So let's say I give it 100. So it still gives me. So that means we're getting what we want. So just specify this, make it a 0, and there you go. You have whatever you want. But now let's go to this page and try to see what the web doc says about scroll. And it says here that this x chord, which is the first parameter, first argument, and the y chord is the second argument, basically just tells you that the pixel, the original pixel, set it to when you set it to 0, so it doesn't have a value, right? And the upper pixel, so now we are using for the vertical pixel, we are using the height of the element, right? Just to display. So I want to touch this one actually. Let me see, scroll to top option. I'm just going through this with you guys, so it's not like I've gone through it before. The scroll to the top to option dictionary is the CSSOM view specs content property specifying where an element should be scrolled to and whether the scroll should be smooth. So a scroll to option dictionary can be provided as a parameter for the following method, which is window.scroll, window.scroll by window.scroll to window.scroll, element.scroll, element.scroll by scroll to, So in this case, we can't use windows because we are telling the whole window now. If that is you can only use window.scroll by to or just scroll alone when you're dealing with the whole entire DOM and the entire website, and say, okay, the whole entire document, please scroll to the bottom or scroll to the top when you load. So that's different. But here we are calling the scroll function on an element, so that means we are restricting this to just that element alone. So when you say scroll option top, it says that specify the number of pixels along the y-axis. along the y-axis, which is vertical, right? Vertical axis to scroll the window or element. So here is going to, this function is going to scroll the page to the top, and this is going to scroll the page to the left, and this is going to print to scroll, and this specify the number of pixels along the x-axis to scroll the window to. And if you notice very well here, when we look at the S code, it says along the x-axis where you want the scroll to scroll in pixel. You know, she told us that, and this is the top is actually the y-axis. So these two now is combined together. The scroll to option top and to option left is combined together, and that's what we use to for scroll to here. You understand? So, and the behavior scroll to option behavior. This only says to you that specify whether the scroll should animate smoothly or happens instantly in a single jump. This is actually defined on the scroll option. On the scroll option dictionary, which is implemented by scroll to option. So I mean, you can just go through this write up, and it will show you. And also say, guys, you can actually write this line of code. This one, you can actually write it this way. You can actually, to start, you can specify your, you can declare your variables scroll options and give it the objects. You know, equate it to an object and give all these parameters to it. You know, key value pair. You can just do this key value pair, and you say left is left input the value, top is top input the value. You know, you can do it whichever way you want, and you call it on the window, and it still works perfectly well for you. But in this case, this is how we're going to do ours, and this gives us exactly what we want, because we want to scroll based on the height of the element. You know, we want to make our scroll based on that, so we're not going beyond that, and we set our x-axis to 0, so that when we will have messages, it just gives sort of the last message at the chart, so it doesn't give us, it doesn't scroll to the top or to the middle or to anywhere. It gives us exactly what we have. So by the time, so whenever we type anything in the and we submit it, so it shows right at the bottom. So it doesn't show and is hidden, and we have to scroll to see it. No. So I hope this little explanation did exactly what I want it to do for you. I hope it shows more light to how you can set your chat page to always show you the last message at the bottom. So thank you guys for listening. I love you guys. Bye.